Welcome to StopFake, the place where we identify fakes and debunk them to set the record straight on disinformation about Ukraine. I'm Marko Suprun with this week's dissections. A displaced man from Donbas attacked for speaking Russian. A future Maidan Museum copies Hitler's architecture projects, and European Union financial aid in exchange for migrant centers in Ukraine. Details ahead. Scores of Russian media featured stories this week claiming a man displaced by the war in Donbas and currently living in the small northern Ukrainian town of Buymyr in Sumy province was attacked for speaking Russian. As a result of the attack, he suffered a torn mouth. Local Sumy television station director Serhiy Klochko tells the story of Vyacheslav Rushkov, a retired miner from Donbas who was involved in a fight outside the local grocery store, resulting in stitches to the corner of his mouth. There is no mention of Russian language as the cause of the alleged fracas until Lydia Rushkova, the victim's wife, appears in the video report. She says Buymyr residents objected to Rushkov speaking Russian, beat him, and even rode a vehicle over him several times. Now, witnesses, the local police, and Rushkov himself tell a different story. Vitaly Razbeyko, the deputy police chief investigating the incident, says it was nothing more than an alcohol-fueled fight. The stories told by Rushkov's wife are simply not true. Rushkov has no complaints and doesn't want to be bothered, Razbeyko said. Even the mayor of Buymyr says this was an altercation between two drunk men. One hit the other. Afterwards, they made up. StopFake called the alleged victim and asked him if he was attacked for speaking Russian. "There was no fight. I simply fell in the cellar," he said. Sumy is heavily Russian-speaking, and it is difficult to imagine locals objecting to someone using the language. Russian journalist Arkady Babchenko, who recently staged his own killing in order to thwart a real attempt on his life, posted a scathing criticism of this latest Russian fake on his Facebook page. The story about Sumy is as believable as Chelyabinsk hoodlums organizing a gay pride parade, Babchenko wrote. Comparing Ukraine to Nazi Germany is a favorite Russian disinformation pastime. The latest fake in this tradition appeared last month in pro-Kremlin Sputnik, Tsargrad, and Novoross publications, claiming that Ukraine's future Maidan Museum, honoring the country's revolution of dignity, copies architectural projects of the Third Reich. These Russian publications cite social media comments, particularly pro-Kremlin journalist Armen Gasparyan, who tweeted a model of the future museum alongside a photograph of Adolf Hitler and architect Albert Speer examining architectural plans for Nuremberg in 1934. These perverse charges appeared after Ukraine's Culture Ministry announced the German architecture firm Kleihuss & Kleihuss, the winner of the Kiev Maidan Museum International Competition. The winning project, called Storming the Hill, is both a museum and a memorial. The fact that the winner was a German firm appears to have brought on the special ire of the Kremlin media. Architect Jan Kleihuss, one of the designers of the Maidan project, said the experience of living in a Berlin once divided into East and West provided the architects with insight into what motivated the Maidan revolution. "We approached this project with great respect," he said, when his team was announced the winner. The Maidan Museum, a neoclassical acropolis, will be built on the Heavenly 100 Alley, a street leading uphill from Independence Square, on which many demonstrators and activists were shot by Austria President Viktor Yanukovych's Berkut Special Forces. Last week, Russian media returned to a favorite disinformation theme with a story claiming the EU and Ukraine were negotiating the settlement of African migrants in Ukraine. Now, this is not the first time that Russian media has circulated such claims. Last year, StopFake debunked Russian fakes about Kiev opening camps for Syrian refugees and Ukraine accepting 20,000 refugees bound for Germany. This latest fake story is based on claims by Ukrainian MP Ihor Moseichuk, who says that the EU is offering Ukraine financial assistance in exchange for refugee placement camps. Moseichuk, a member of the Right Radical Party, does not present any concrete evidence to back up his pronouncements. The EU is considering placing migrants outside the territory of the European Union. Recently, Turkey agreed to accept Syrian refugees who arrived in the EU through Turkey. In return, the EU agreed to accelerate the process of abolishing visas for Turkish citizens and to provide financial assistance for the migrants. Austria's Prime Minister Sebastian Kurz and European Parliament President Antonio Tajani have examined the possibility of building processing centers for asylum seekers in the Balkans. However, the idea was not supported by EU members. European leaders reached an agreement on migrants during last month's summit, the details of which are unclear. They agreed to continue financing centers in Turkey and Morocco, to open new centers in Algiers, Egypt, Libya, Nigeria, and Tunisia. There is no mention of a migrant camp planned for Ukraine. Thanks for tuning in this week. Look, help us preserve truth and true reality. If you spot any fakes about Ukraine, send them to us for a truth autopsy. Be vigilant, don't consume fakes. Tips on how to do that are on our website, stopfake.org. I'm Marko Suprun, and this is StopFake. See you next week.